stay?
I like this one better.
What are we studying? It's not a popularity contest. Chapter 5 wins over Chapter 3. Right, it's CVP. What does that stand for again? Cost volume profit analysis. Okay, what do we have to start with? What's the pivotal figure that we're looking at with CVP? What's contribution margin, right? We've got to figure out, can somebody verbalize for me what a contribution margin is? It's the amount. It is sales minus variable expenses, but if you were talking to somebody that wasn't an accountant, what would you tell him or her? CVP, or, I'm sorry?
After paying the variable expenses, money you left to put towards your fixed expenses.
Yeah, it's the amount from each unit I sold that's going to cover my fixed expenses and then my profit. So we did break-even analysis. Well, let's see. Let's just put these up here really quick. What else did we do? Break-even, dollars, target profit, dollars, break-even percentage, and target profit, no, not percentage, units. Sorry. Okay, let's just fly through these because we got a lot more to cover today. Jordan, how would you calculate contribution margin?
Sales, or no.
Yeah, no. Sales price.
Variable.
That's it. Sales price minus variable cost. You can do that for a unit or you can do it for the whole kit and caboodle, right? Hannah, how do you get contribution margin percentage? You want to pass? Okay. Jess?
You take your contribution margin and divide it by.
That's it. Good job. Contribution margin divided by sales price. Perry, how do you get break even in dollars? What's your numerator? What am I trying to cover?
Fixed cost.
That's right.
Divided by cost of margin.
No.
Or
Just-
contribution margin.
It is percent.
Yeah.
Jeez, had to think about that for a
I
second.
understood. I was like, whoa.
Okay. Great. What percentage of each unit that I sell is going to go cover my fixed cost? That's going to give me my break even in dollars. Sarah, how do you get target profit in dollars?
You're going to take your fixed cost plus your target profit.
Yep.
And that by your contribution margin per unit.
Percentage. Jeannie, how do you get break even in number of units?
Would you just take your break-even dollar amount divided by how many, or the cost of each unit?
I think we do this, don't we? Fixed cost divided by the contribution margin per unit is going to tell me how many units do I have to sell. Because remember we were practicing, I have to sell, 1,200, whatever we were, I don't even remember what we were looking at. What were we looking at on Wednesday? Shoes? Cars? Bikes, thank you. Okay. And Gretchen, target profit in units. This is actually a review. You don't need to write this down again, but whatever.
Isn't it
Okay.
cost
Fixed cost plus, what am I trying to cover here? Not just my fixed cost, but my target profit. I want to earn $1.3 million.
Yeah, over.
Very good. See, yeah, dollars.
Oh, it's dollars.
Okay, so are we all okay with that? All right, good. That was just kind of a quick review. So one of the other things, they show this in kind of a lot of different ways, but we're responsible for looking at what a CVP graph looks like. And we've seen this before, so I don't want to spend a ton of time on it. It should be pretty intuitive to you. What's this red line? How do you know those are your fixed costs? Well, A, they don't change, and B, they intersect the y-axis. You know, it's somewhere other than 0. What's the green line? How did you know that, Jake? Mm-hmm. So it's a linear trajectory, but the other giveaway is what? Crosses the line at the point of origin, right? What's the blue line then? That's the total cost, isn't it? Because here, if fixed plus variable, it's crossing the y-axis at exactly where the fixed are. 0 units, I've still got total cost of whatever my fixed are, right? And then it's going up in a trajectory like this. Oh, I'm sorry. The green line here, they don't have variable expenses here. Pardon me. My bad. They don't have variable expenses here. The green line is actually sales, but variable expenses would look like this too if they were plotted, wouldn't they? I mean, not the exact number, right? Sorry, my bad. So what it hits through 0, yep. So for my sales and my total costs intersect, what is that? That's break even. This is just a visual of what we just been working on. So basically, anything above the break even becomes what? Between my sales and my total costs. And anything below that is my what? Loss. Okay. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay. We also okay, then they have, and I honestly probably wouldn't even per se teach this, but I mean, you just, I guess, need to be familiar with the big part of the content. I think it's tougher to do, but this is our algebraic equation for break even. So let's just spend a second here. So it's telling us, this is a target profit equation. So if I want to earn $80,000, I'm trying to solve for Q here. I've got to take how much each unit contributes towards covering fixed expenses and net profit times the number of units minus my fixed costs, and you're solving for Q. So let me just give you some data points and let's see if we can do one of these real quick. I'm sure they've got one. Okay, so this is back to the bikes. I don't know if you remember, but the bikes were, I think, had a contribution margin of how much each? 200, I believe. I think we were selling them for 5, and then variable cost is 3, and the fixed expenses were 80. Okay, 80,000. And in this case, they want to make 100 grand. Before, we were just putting it into that nice, neat fixed cost plus target profit divided by CM, which I think is way easier. But just see if you can solve for Q pretty quickly here, too. I'm sure you can. So my profit that I want to earn is how much? 100. And you know how much the unit contribution margin is, and you know how much the fixed expenses are. This is just another expression of the fraction I showed you on Wednesday. mean, honestly, for me, I wouldn't take the time to write out 4 lines of equations if I can just pop it into the fixed cost plus target profit divided by CF. So really the salient, the salient point isn't as much, well, it is when you do the numbers clearly, but it's what do you do with the data that you're pulling from this? So what the heck does that mean? Q equals 900, so what? Yeah. This is my target profit. Maybe I need that for my creditors. Maybe I need that for my shareholders. Maybe that's an internally generated number that we have as part of our strategic plan. So then the question is, well, how do we get to that 900? And on Wednesday, we played a little bit with changing what to try to generate new data. Yeah, variable expenses. Like in one example, I said, well, what if you increase the sales commission $50 a bite? What was something else we explored? What if I drop the price on it? What happens? Well, obviously, if I drop the price, it's going to lower my what? Contribution margin. Okay? But can I increase my market share by, whatever percentage with the lower cost? And then I think we also looked at increasing our advertising campaign, which was a what? A fixed cost of another $4,300 a month. Okay. Please. Yeah. No. For what side? Oh, hon, I don't know which slide that was.
Well, it's that one.
Oh.
That'll work. Okay. Originally you had 200 times Q equals 100,000 minus 8,000. And then the next thing you had was Q equals 100,000 plus 8,000. Now you go from net minus to plus just because you
180 divided by 200.
Oh, the 8. So it either go right side of the 80. Oh, well, I thought
To isolate it.
100. See, you've got one. If you just move it to 100, you can't have it minus plus. It can't go from a minus to a plus. Yeah.
100 lines, 100,000 minus.
80, and then all you did was,
That is a typo.
oh, God.
No, because 180 divided by 200 is 900 units, but she's right, because here I subtracted 200 from each side. Or, I'm sorry, I divided both sides by 200.
So how do you go from a
Just a second, let me.
no, it just switches with the 80 over and switches around to the right.
Oh, I see, yeah, so here, I don't know, I can see the math is right, but
Oh,
I
never
don't-
mind, I got it.
my brain's not wrapping around what they did.
Okay, they just reversed it. Yeah. I
They
got it.
reversed the sides, didn't they? Okay. Whew. Okay, let's see. So that was slide number 15. Okay, so the point of all this is to analyze how much wiggle room do I have given the existing cost structure? How much does selling another 50 units, what does that do to my bottom line? So let's talk a little bit about those concepts. Starting with what I just posited. Can you figure out very quickly what selling another 50 bicycles would do to my bottom line once I broke even? Do you have to go through and run a full contribution margin income statement? What can you do? Absolutely. My question is, once you hit break even, how much do another 50 bikes add to your bottom line? 50 times contribution margin. Right? 10,000, I think, right? Right? 200 each? 200 each bike? $10,000? So you can quickly make assessments, can't you? Could you quickly make an assessment as to how many more bikes I would have to sell with the existing cost structure if I hired a marketing manager for $3,000 a month. It's fixed, so $3,000 a month times 12 months, I gotta cover another what? $36,000 a year. How much does each bike give me as far as CM goes? $200. How many more bikes do I have to sell? 1,800. Actually, 180. Do you see how you can do this all day long? Once you know your contribution margin, you can start to talk strategy without going and running full income statements over and over and over to do projections. You can just kind of intuit it. So the another question is responding to this question of margin of safety. Right now, my actual sales are $250,000. What was my break even? Do you want to calculate it again? Fixed costs are 80. Contribution margin is, how much is my contribution margin again? 200 a bike. So do the calc and then to make sure that you understand where that came from. Then we'll move on. Fixed cost equal 80. Sales price 500. Variable cost 300. What's my contribution margin? What's my contribution margin percentage? We've already done this. We're kind of recalculating it. So break even, do I divide by dollars or percentage to get the number of units? You divide by dollars to get units, don't you? So 80,000 divided by $200 per bike. I've got to sell 400 bikes to break even. What did I actually do? And I don't know if this is for a month or a year, it doesn't matter. I sold 500 bikes. What's the margin of safety in number of bicycles? 100 bikes. Once if their sales dropped 101 bikes, they would be in a what situation? A loss, right? Because they're actually selling 500. 400 is breaking where you just cover your fixed costs. So you need a sort of a feel, right? How much as a percentage can my sales drop? How much as a percentage is my margin of safety? In other words, how many bikes can I drop divided by what I'm actually selling right now? What's my comfort zone? %. I'm selling 500 bikes. Here's my 80 grand. Right? Fixed cost. And how much was my contribution margin for one unit? $200. So I need to sell 400 bikes to break even, right? How many am I actually selling? 500. So what's my margin of safety? 100 bikes. And then my question was, well, so how much wiggle room is that? 100 bikes doesn't mean much. Percentage means a lot. I'm currently selling 500 bikes. If I've got 100 bike wiggle room, that's 20%. Go ahead. Yep. Same. So margin of safety can be quoted in lots of different ways. Number of units, 100 bikes. Percentage of existing sales, 20%. Dollars of revenue. If my margin of sales is 100 bikes and I'm selling them for is it 500 each? $50,000. So margin of safety can be quoted in lots of different ways. Number of units. And before you can get margin of safety, you've obviously got to get what? Break even. And I've got to tell you what the actual is. What am I actually selling? Right? Sure. The thing is, you can manipulate these any way you want. I can give you the percentage and you back into numbers. I can give you the dollars and you back into units. Do you understand the relationship between the numbers? So this is percentage margin of safety, and this is my dollars margin of safety. Why is that an important number for sitting around a board table? Yeah, I know. I can talk to my investors about wiggle room. I was just reading that a lot of chip makers are really bad straight. Oh, actually, it was in your book. I was thinking it was in the Wall Street Journal, but it was in your book, and I thought it was really interesting. They built all this infrastructure capacity to manufacture chips for PCs and laptops and iPads and such. And the market is now pretty saturated. Well, what kinds of costs are all those facilities that they've built? Fixed or variable? They're fixed. You can't, those costs are there regardless. Huh? It is a sunk cost. It is a sunk cost. Good comment. But it's a fixed cost that they have to cover. So the market's saturated. What do you do when a market's saturated with a commodity? Cut expenses. Huh? You drop your prices. Basic econ. What happens when the supply is flooded? Your prices are going to drop. Your contribution margin is going to drop, clearly. How many more units are you going to have to sell? Tons more. See where I'm going with this? These are the kinds of conversations. What's happening out in the Bakken right now? Same thing. Talk about infrastructure build out, right? Fixed costs up the wazoo for drilling. Price plummets. What happens to your contribution margin? You got to sell that much more oil. But the supply, there's a glut, so the more supply, the lower the cost, the lower the contribution margin. It's just a vicious spiral down, isn't it? Okay. So is this pretty important to know? Yeah. Okay, what else? Okay, to an extent, they don't say this to an extent, but I'm going to say it. Management can play with fixed versus variable structures. So you're a chip maker 5 years ago. I was also talking about how the iPads, what are they? Tablets, that's the name of the market. The tablet market, and I mean, I can't believe nobody kind of tapped into this. They didn't realize that the tablet market was going to cannibalize the PC and laptop market. So they thought that the PC and laptop sales were going to remain relatively stable. Well, no, people, they don't oftentimes, I mean, they don't have both, do they? No, some people do, but a whole lot of people have to make a choice. Right. So, what might they have done as management to change the cost structure to not make themselves so vulnerable to this glut that I was just talking about? Oh, product line, okay, sure. But I'm talking about cost structure.
When you reallocate their raw materials and stuff to produce tablets.
Okay, so when they see the market shifting, reallocate, although the raw materials may or may not be the same components. Probably not, right? Because tablets are more micro.
We still use a lot of the same chips though.
Probably have the same chips. I honestly don't know. Right, but cost structure, what am I, so what might I do? I've got to have somewhere to manufacture the damn things.
Get a smaller warehouse, get a cheaper warehouse.
But that's all still fixed. That's variable. You're barking up the right tree. And then you got quality control issues. How about instead of building the plants, I lease them? What have I just done? Converted a fixed cost to a variable cost. Right? If I'm leasing square footage based upon capacity, that's a pretty big leap. But the point being is, can you start playing with, I want to stabilize my profit, what kinds of things do I look at? Right? And converting fixed to variable is a huge piece of it. Now, are you more or less exposed, or are you more or less risky if you have high fixed costs and low fixed costs?
If you've got too much invested in it,
Yep.
you have to worry about how you're going to compensate it, or the lower the risk, the more flexibility.
Absolutely. So high risk, high fixed costs, but once you've got your fixed costs covered, what does each unit of sales do to your profit? It's going to be really high. Your contribution margin is going to be really high because most of your costs are fixed, i.e. your variable costs are low, i.e. your CM is high. So once you've covered your fixed costs, it's gravy, right? That concept is operating leverage. Go ahead. One more time. Okay. Well, I didn't hear you, so it couldn't have been too silly. Okay. So you want to know, in addition to margin, in addition to break even and contribution margin and margin and safety, you want to know how sensitive is the change in sales going to be to my bottom line. And that's all about what's my cost structure. If you have high fixed costs, a high percentage of your costs are fixed, that means a lower percentage of your costs are variable and your CM's high. So how sensitive is the change in the dollar of sales going to be? More sensitive or less sensitive? Huh? More, way more. Okay? Because, go ahead.
What about like for certain products that we sell in the U.S.? So you have, let's say, if the local market, all of a sudden they change the laws in other countries because of certain products we use. They won't buy the product anymore.
Sure.
So you just lost that in the market.
Sure you did. Great example. Europe has banned GMOs. We can't sell any products with GMOs to Europe. They don't want that shit, frankly. You know? No. We have 110,000 toxic substances that are legal for human use, including children, infants, pets in this country. 80% of them are banned in the EU. We manufacture them here, we dump them here, we spray them on our hair here, we eat them at the fast food joints here. They won't use them in Europe. So they're only markets here. So how strong do you think the lobby is to keep those products viable in America? Pretty freaking strong. Pretty freaking strong. You would be horrified if you ever go on Women's Voices for the Earth and see the products that they sell, particularly women, that come through our mammary glands, breastfeeding, bioaccumulate in our tissues. Pretty crazy. I would be very careful if I was a young woman, well, or an old woman, or any age woman, but particularly childbearing years. Okay, operating leverage. How sensitive is my income to a percentage change in sales? The higher the leverage, operating leverage number, right? Once you've covered break even, it's gravy, but until then, pretty volatile. It's calculated by CM divided by operating income. Because our net operating income, all of our expenses are covered, right? Fixed and variable. Let's just run that number for the example that we've been doing at the actual rate, at my actual sales. What's my operating leverage? It's quoted as number of times, essentially. Yep, 5. My degree of operating leverage is 5.
And what is that total?
I'll tell you that in a sec. Let's see, first let me make sure, sorry. The 5, the calculation is CM of 100 grand divided by net operating income of 20,000. So 5 times. What that says is if I have an 8% change in sales, what's that going to do to my bottom line? By how much? 8% times 5 times. My question was, if I have an 8% increase in sales, what's that going to do to my net operating income? It's going to increase it 40%. 8% times 5 times. Pretty high operating leverage. I'm going to put another example up, and we're going to work through everything, all the calculations based on an example of selling pulse discs, if I can find it. If not, we're going to do loaves of bread. Okay, here we go. Okay. Does anybody fall? How much are discs now? I mean, can you get them for 3 for $10? Okay, that's what I was thinking. This is a little dated. When my kids were still at home, this was a big family activity. And back then, a golf disc, it's frisbee golf, where you throw a disc and then chase it, and, well, you don't really chase it, but you find it and then you throw it again. It's like a golf cart, but frisbee discs. I'm selling them for $8.50 each. I've got variable cost of goods sold of $3 a disc. No, sorry, $2 a disc. So what would be in that number, for example? What kind of materials? Direct materials. I feel like I've got this blueberry on my nose. Do I? No, okay. Okay. Direct materials plus direct labor plus what kind of overhead? Applied variable overhead, right? Because you've still got some fixed overhead. Is that up in that number? No. The rent on my factory is not in that number. That's a fixed cost. My variable selling and administrative costs are 18 cents a disc. And my, what the heck is my fixed overhead is $60,000 a year. That's the rent on my facility, my property taxes. I guess I would pay taxes if I was renting. 60,000. And then I've got fixed S&A equal to 31,000. Okay. First off, what do you think we're going to need to calculate before we even start this project? You've got to get me CM in dollars and CM in percentage. And then I go right into break even in dollars and break even in percentage. And try and do this without looking at your notes. CM in dollars, CM in percentage. Break even in dollars, break even in percentage. Made me kind of feel good when I went on YouTube. 8 people had watched my lecture from Wednesday. Nobody liked it though. It's sort of a, yeah. This is all you know. I want you to, what do you think you need to figure out first? CM per bulk disc, CM percentage, and then I want you to tell me how many discs do you think I need to sell to break even in units? And what dollar in sales does that equate to? Oh yeah, don't forget to give me your supplemental problems on the way out the door. I'll put the folder over here. I don't know. I got equivalent when I walked in the door this week. Is that what it is? Yeah. But I've never smelled that before. Every false disc I sell gives me how much contribution margin? $6.32. Selling price minus variable costs.
What was that?
Each false disc I sell is going to give me how much towards covering my fixed costs? $8.50 minus $2 minus 18 cents. Right? Go ahead. Therefore, the percentage of my selling price that goes towards covering my fixed costs equals what? 74.4%. Yeah, one's fine. Does anybody need me to put the calculations up for any of this? Please speak up if you don't know where the numbers came from.
I'm lost.
Okay, so this is, let's help together. Where did the 632 come from? Tell me specifically. Sales price, which is minus what? Minus variable costs. How many variable costs do I have in this example? $2.18. Right? Each bulk disc is giving me $6.32 towards covering my fixed expenses. Where does this guy come from? Each bulk disc has a contribution margin of $6.32. What percentage of the sales price is that? Right? Can you easily now get to break even in dollars and break even in units? How'd you do that to yourself? How did you get break even in units? Yeah? Good. My contribution margin in dollars or my contribution margin in percentage? What did I ask? Did I ask for dollars or units? I asked for units, so you have to divide by dollars. And here's how I memorize that. Well, I'll show you in a second. Let's get the answers, and then I'll kind of show you how to remember that, because that's a good one to remember. What were my fixed costs in total? Right? 60 plus the 31. How much does each bulk disc contribute to covering that? So what's my break even? That's what I got. 14,399. That's okay. 14,399 discs. I don't know if that's feasible or not, because I don't know who's in the market and who my distributors are, but we're just running some raw numbers here. You should easily be able to also tell me, what is that in total dollar sales? Yep. And you can do that one of two ways. You could take that 14,399 and just multiply it by what? 850. Or you can go through the calculation that we practiced. Right? $122,312. My actual sales last year were 18,000. Plus my margin of safety. 18,000 units. I sold 18,000 discs last year. What's my margin of safety? In percentage, in dollars, and in discs. Good question. We're almost out of time. So what we're going to do on Monday, I don't know if I can save the smartboard and bring it back up and try. And then also, obviously, the next thing you need to do for me is figure out operating leverage. And you're going to do that at the 18,000 level. So I'm actually selling 18,000 units. Calculate my operating leverage. Well, I don't have the number quite yet. We'll go over it on Monday. So take some time to think about this. These are the next things that you need to do. Margin of safety and operating leverage. New concepts today. We'll reinforce them first thing on Monday by looking at this.
And what was the 18,000 for?
That's how many discs I actually sold. I gave you the cost structure, and you went and figured out contribution margin and break even. How many discs did I actually sell? 18,000. What's my margin of safety? Dollars, discs, and percentage. And then in order to do operating leverage, you're going to have to run a what? Yeah, an income statement, a contribution margin income statement at the 18,000 level. So for Monday, finish this up, do your practice problems. We'll spend all day Monday reinforcing. We've got one new topic, which is multi-product. And then the problem that's due for this chapter is due next Wednesday. So Monday, practice problems. Wednesday, the problem for points. The next exam is October 23rd. Okay, happy weekend, y'all. Don't forget to drop off your supplementary problem for extra credit.